Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving into a really powerful spiritual idea, something that gets right to the heart of inner peace. And it all boils down to one question. Where do you truly place your security?
So let's start with this foundational principle right here. You can think of it as a kind of spiritual law that lays out a fundamental choice we all have to make. Are we going to anchor our hearts on the one unshakable source, or on everything else?
Yeah, this law really taps into a universal human search for stability. We're all looking for something solid to hold on to, right? But so often, we end up clinging to things that are, by their very nature, temporary and unstable. Things like people, our status, or even our own best-laid plans.
So what does it actually mean to find that true anchor? Well, it's about becoming inwardly sufficient with God. And the key idea here is about relocating your heart's center of gravity, moving it away from the shifting sands of the world and onto the solid ground of the unchanging source.
Now, this is really important because it helps clear up some huge misconceptions. Finding sufficiency in God isn't about abandoning your life or refusing to have relationships. Not at all. It's about using the world without worshiping it. It's about understanding that real, lasting peace comes from the source, not from the temporary gifts he provides.
Okay, so how do you know if you're actually on this path? Well, this state isn't just some vague, abstract feeling. It actually has three very clear, observable signs that show up in a person's life.
This quote from Sheikh Zaruk, wow, it's like he hands us a perfect roadmap. It's such a complete and beautifully simple definition, and we're going to unpack it, one sign at a time.
All right, so there they are. Contentment, concern, and focus. Let's dive right into that first sign, shall we?
The first sign is contentment, and this is so key. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain or grieve a loss. Of course you will. It means that underneath all that surface-level turmoil, there's a deep, unshakable trust that his plan is ultimately better and wiser than your own.
The second sign. This marks a massive internal shift. Your whole focus starts to change. You begin to live less from a place of impulse, always asking, what do I want, and more from a place of purpose and service, asking, what does God require of me in this exact moment?
And the third sign is all about freedom. Your heart stops scattering itself, chasing approval and validation from 100 different sources. You're just no longer a prisoner to praise or criticism, because your heart has found a single, stable place to turn.
Okay, now let's go a little bit deeper. Let's think of this next part as a kind of diagnostic test for the heart. It's designed to help us see, with piercing honesty, where our attachments and our dependencies truly lie.
This first one is a powerful litmus test. It's asking us to look at our attachments. I mean, if your inner balance desperately depends on something temporary, a person, a job, your health, never ever changing, what does that tell you about where you've truly placed your trust?
And this gets right to the core of the issue. See, everything in creation is fragile. Everything is passing. So if we build our inner home on something that is guaranteed to disappear, anxiety isn't just a risk, it's pretty much inevitable.
And here's the second part of that test. The distinction here is so subtle but so important. It's not about whether or not you feel grief. It's about whether that grief leaves you feeling utterly empty, completely destroyed on the inside.
Someone who has reached him still feels pain, absolutely, but they aren't destroyed by it because their ultimate source of life and stability was never in the thing that was lost in the first place. Their foundation is still there. It remains intact. So, all right, moving from theory to practice. How do we actually cultivate this state? It really begins with some deep, honest self-reflection. And that means we have to be willing to ask ourselves some pretty difficult questions. Let's start with this one, and be really honest with yourself. When everything around you is shaking, what's that one thing your heart instinctively grabs onto for its sense of balance? And what about your hidden expectations? You know, that thing you don't say out loud. Is it a promotion, a relationship, a certain amount of money? What's the thing you're quietly hoping will finally swoop in and save you and make you feel secure?
This question gets right to the heart of our fears, doesn't it? Because our greatest fears often point directly to our greatest attachments, the things we've accidentally allowed to become way too central to our identity and our well-being.
And finally, here it is, the ultimate diagnostic question. If it were gone tomorrow, what would leave you feeling like your entire inner world has just collapsed? The answer to that question reveals exactly where your sufficiency truly lies right now. So, after all of this deep reflection, what's the big takeaway? Well, the entire spiritual journey we've been talking about is really about one thing: finding and strengthening your true, unshakable center.
The goal, to put it simply, is to relocate where your heart places its dependence. And the signs that you're succeeding, that you're on the right track, are clear. You'll notice a growing contentment, a sharper focus on what's required of you, and a real inner freedom from the opinions of others.
And maybe the most hopeful message in all of this is that this isn't some fixed state you either have or you don't. The heart can be trained. Through real spiritual work, your intimacy with the Source can genuinely become stronger than your fear of losing anything in this world.
And we'll just end with this beautiful prayer from the source material, which I think perfectly sums up this entire journey. It's a plea for true sufficiency, for true intimacy, and for true freedom. Thanks so much for joining us.